This is a 2008 G35xS, and it is the second generation of the G35. The first generation debuted back in 2003 as Infiniti's luxury competitor against the BMW 3 Series. In fact, it was the only real competition against BMW in the sport sedan segment. It had 270 horsepower, rear-wheel drive as standard, and an optional 5-speed and 6-speed manual. All of these made it look great on paper. But BMWs are known for much more than their specifications. The BMW 3 Series was the halo car of sport luxury sedans for its driving experience. It had excellent handling characteristics and was extremely well balanced and fun to drive. So how did the G35 in 2003 compare with the BMW 3 Series? Everyone loved it. Motor Trend awarded it Car of the Year for its excellent balance of handling, performance, styling, importance, and price. But that was back in 2003. This is the second generation of the G35, the evolution of the first one. According to Infiniti, this car has a 40% stiffer chassis, it has at least 30 more horsepower, and it has been tuned for a better driving experience. And today, I'm going to show you what the G35 is all about, and most importantly, what it is like to drive. Let's talk about the styling of the 2008 G35. I love it. I think Infiniti did a fantastic job styling this car. One thing Infiniti seems to take a lot of pride in is their grille. As you can see, it twists in a little bit as you get closer to the center. It's a very distinctive and unique look. Apparently, that's supposed to resemble Japanese swords from back in the day. It is really a neat touch. Let's talk about the back end of this car, which I might add looks just as good, if not better, than the front. But anyways, let's talk about the packages included with this particular car. This one is the X model, meaning it has all-wheel drive. This one also has the Sport package, and that includes magnesium sport paddles, inflatable side bolsters, slightly more sportier rims, and I think a better tuned suspension. Don't quote me on that though. This combination of all-wheel drive and sport is extremely rare for these cars. It's usually one or the other, but it's almost never both. I feel pretty special. Let's take a look at the trunk in this car. To access it, you can use either your key fob, which looks like this. You just hold down the trunk button and it pops open. Simple. Or you can use this button that's integrated into the spoiler. You push it, it pops open, and you just kind of gotta lift it up. Now, Infiniti engineers, such brilliant people, didn't give you a handle to lift it up. So you can use the spoiler, which is just such a pain. You have no leverage and you have to push on it, and then you leave fingerprints all over the chrome spoiler. It's not very nice. The best way I found, though, is to pop it up, and then you lift from the bottom of the trunk. Now, moving along to where you spend the most time with this car, the interior. As you can see, there's stuff peeling on the dash and the steering wheel and also the window switches. Now, this is a common issue with these cars. The finishes on them are just not done very well and they're cheap. So over time, you'll see that they come off and it just looks kind of gross. Now, the dash on this car has been ripped out several times to fix a heater core. And after being ripped apart 4 times, the heater still doesn't work in this car. Aside from all the things that are peeling and coming off, the interior is just a little bit cheap. You've got everything is plastic. There is some aluminum trim, which does feel and look nice. Infiniti didn't put a lot of budget into their materials. But if you can get past the cheap materials, it's really not too bad of a place to be. Everything is laid out well. I don't really like their infotainment system, though, because in order to access it, you have to have your arms straight out and reaching over, and it's just kind of like... The back seat in this car is actually not too bad. I don't have a lot of space for my feet, but I've got a lot of space for my knees. I've got the seat where I would sit at 5'11", 5'10"-ish, and it's really, there is a decent amount of space. I could sit back here comfortably for a decently long drive. So if you're going to be transporting people, maybe a G35 is not too bad of an option. So you've seen the interior and the exterior of this car. Oh, spider. But that's not really what matters with this. This is built to be a fun-to-drive, fast sedan. But is it? It is now time for me to take you on a ride and show you what it is like to drive. Alright, driving the Infiniti G35 all-wheel drive Sport. So first thing worth noting is it's a pretty comfortable car. The suspension is sport tuned, so you feel the bumps, but they're not harsh. The steering is really good in this car. It has no on-center laziness, and it's surprisingly heavy, heavier than anything else I've ever driven. The steering feels directly connected to the wheels. Alright, so I'm gonna switch into sport mode really quick. The one thing you may or may not know about this car is it has a built-in rev matching feature. Meaning when you downshift with the paddles, the engine will blip the throttle for just a second. So when it finishes downshifting, the engine and transmission are both... Oh, jeez. This thing's fast. Woo! Yeah. As I was saying, so when you push the downshift paddle, it'll blip the throttle to match the engine speed and transmission speed, so you don't feel the downshift. So I'm shifting to third, now I'm doing second, and it's blipping the throttle and matching the engine transmission speed. It isn't perfect, you still feel it a little bit, but it's really good. It's better than anything else I've tried, or cars that just don't have it at all. Using these paddles is really nice. So they're made out of magnesium, and they just have a really nice weight to them. You push it, and you actually feel like you're doing something. Unlike those little buttons that make like a little tiny click when you push them in your mom's Toyota. This car has 306 horsepower, and it'll do 0 to 60 in about 5.2 seconds. So now I'm going at 70 miles per hour now on the freeway. There is a little bit of wind and tire noise, but it's not much, and you can have a good, reasonable conversation with the guy next to you without the car interrupting. Another thing about sport mode is that it automatically rev match downshifts for you when you slow down. Alright, so I'm flooring it. Yeah, it is pretty quick. One of the interesting things about this car is the throttle pedal. Now you might be thinking, what the heck could be so interesting about that? Well, it's so sensitive. You feel like you get 60% of the power and just 20% throttle. And it makes this thing really fun to drive. Because of the quickness of the steering and the tightness and the throttle response, this car feels so nimble and light on its feet. I feel like I could do anything in this car. So that is the G35xS. It's fun to drive, it's fast, and it's relatively practical too, and it will last a lot longer than its BMW competitors. Because this is my first video, I want you to judge the snot out of it in the comments below. Tell me what I can do better, and tell me what I did absolutely terribly. Thanks for watching.